What's up, guys? Blaine Duncan here from Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. Welcome to episode number 59. That is my brother, Austin, and we're the hosts of this great podcast. Thank you guys for joining us once again this week. If you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, the follow, everything in between. Let us know that you're liking the show, and we certainly appreciate having you guys here with us. We've got a fun episode. Are you ready to do this one? It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we've had some really fun episodes in the past, and you and I have kind of been texting about like just how much fun this show has been. And so really thank you guys for, giving us an audience, letting us know that we're not just talking to the Halloween void here. It's really an honor being able to do this week after week, and having you guys show up.
It definitely is. Yeah, we had a lot of good support with that last video that we did. That was a lot of fun. We kind of talked this last week. Like that's when we're in our groove. That's when we're doing, I feel like our best content is when we're just like throwing shit at the wall, bouncing ideas off each other and seeing what sticks. And that one stuck. So we're hoping this week is just as successful and just as enjoyable. Why don't you tell us what we're doing this week, Austin?
Yeah, so this week is all about the WTF moments of the Halloween franchise. And, for a franchise that has had 13 films, there are certainly a few moments throughout this saga that are certainly, either confusing or jarring or just, why did they do that? What is this character doing? This doesn't feel right. Any moment that really makes you go, what the fuck? That is what we're talking about today on Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. So we each prepared 5 moments, and much like all of our videos, we don't know what each other really picked for this. So there is a good chance of overlap. I think there might be 1 or 2 that I chose that are just very clearly like WTF moments. But we'll see, man.
I have some, so I created, I have 5, but then I think I have another 2 or 3 like honorable mentions. So if for some reason you pick one of mine, I'm probably going to jump down to one of those, but either way, we're going to talk about them. So I went first last week. Why don't you kick us off with what the fuck moment number 1?
And I want to say these are all, WTF moments in their own regard. They're not necessarily ranked. Right, some may really drop your jaw more than others. But for me, the number 1 that I thought of when we talked about making this episode was from Halloween 2018, a scene that shook me to my core and made me go, please, no, what the fuck is this? And it was Dr. Sartin putting on the mask in Halloween 2018. As soon as he did that, because obviously we had little hints that like, okay, because they kind of set you up, right? It's a little bit of a bait and switch. You got this guy who's almost new Loomis. And there's even a line, I think Lori even says like, oh, it's the new Loomis or whatever. And you're expecting it to be just kind of a rehash of that character. Obviously, he switches up. He's kind of the reason Michael escapes in Halloween 2018. But as soon as, they're in the car, and I believe they hit Michael in that police car. You see Dr. Sartain go down, and all of a sudden he pops back up with the mask on. And I was like, what are we doing here? First of all, my first initial thought was, please don't tell me Michael just died by a car crash. And now we're about to see the rest of this movie played out by like a mad scientist doctor, right, with a bad fake accent. I mean, maybe it's his real accent. I'd be shocked. And then wearing the mask that like looked unfitting on him. Like that whole scene, I was like, oh, what are they doing here? I don't want to see this. It feels sacrilegious for a character like that to put on Michael's mask. I don't know. That was the first one that jumped out to me when we talked, like when we made the prompt for this video. Dr. Sartain, get that mask off your face.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. This one didn't make my list, but I'm glad that you brought it up because I don't know how I forgot about it, but it might be in my mind like the top it's for sure the top WTF moment of the trilogy, but it could honestly be the top WTF moment of the entire franchise because number 1, well, first off, I love the fact that Michael stomped his ass out once he got the mask back, right? I mean,
yes,
I thought that was great. But what were they going for there? Like they could have continued with this Sartin is really obsessed with Michael without having to cross that road and put the mask on. Like he clearly was like obsessed. He wanted to see Michael in the wild. He wanted to see him go after Laurie Strode. But to put the mask on, I agree. I mean, it was something that we've never seen. I don't believe in any other film. We've never seen somebody else put the mask on, Michael's mask on. So I don't know what they're thinking, but it was terrible. I don't even know what to say.
And he stabs the sheriff, and I always forget his name, and I don't know why. Hawkins. Yeah, he stabs Hawkins with like a 007 pen with a knife in it.
Right.
Just that whole scene. I don't want to say it sucks because I get why they needed to do it, but it did make me go, "What the fuck?" And that's what this episode's about.
You would not want to carry that pen accidentally through the TCA or TCA. What TCA? What ATC? What the fuck is it at the airport? TSA. Yeah. See, I don't even know because they're kind of worthless. But don't hate me for that. The TSA. You wouldn't want to take that to through the TCA.
No.
TCA. TSA.
TSA. I'm
having trouble tonight.
As a side note, there is no. And I apologize if any of our watchers are TSA workers.
Yeah.
Even so, you could be my biggest fan. I cannot stress how much I hate the TSA. They're least favorite individuals on this earth.
They're a crabby group of people. Like
don't be such an ass.
Yeah, I get that. Like it sucks that you're dealing with people who are just like really antsy to get on the move and whatever. But yeah, you don't need to be a royal prick. It's not a great way to welcome me to the airport is I'm going to be an asshole and start your vacation off on a low note. But yeah, I agree. That was a tangent. Anyway, agree with what you said. That's perfect. I'm going to go with my, and again, these are in no particular order, but my first pick is the Deputy Nick and Deputy Tom from Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. The guys who are playing like their clown music is playing like that. Like, why are we doing this right now? This is a horror movie, right? Why are we doing this? They do that throughout that film. There's like this comedic relief that they were trying to inject into this film, and we didn't need it. Like they still could have had like these two kind of like dopey cops or whatever, but not have. I think it was the music to me that like put that over the edge, and it was like this slapstick, like police academy routine where these two guys just kind of went back and forth when Max runs away and Rachel sees the dog, whatever. And then the cops are there. And I don't remember what they say, but they're like, and it's just like, it's stupid the way that they like, interact with each other. And I look at that and it's like, WTF. Why? What part of that? How did we get through this entire filmmaking process and get to the point where we actually filmed this thing and it hit the big screens and then was released? Because what a horrible, horrible thing to put into one of these movies. And we've talked about this before, like Julian in 2018 was the perfect amount of comedic relief, right?
Yep.
The peanut butter on my penis thing was a little bit too much, right? That was like, we don't need that. Danny McBride, I can see your humor coming out in the writing here. We don't need that, but you can understand it coming from like an 8-year-old smart ass kid, right? I mean, that's you can see that. When we got what's the name of the kid, Jeremy, in 2018, the little asshole kid at the beginning who falls down, same thing. Like I can see Danny McBride, your writing is starting to creep into this. Your comedic humor is starting to creep into this. We don't need that. Whoever, and I don't know who wrote Halloween 5, but dude, we didn't need that. Keep that garbage out of the next incoming films because these are scary, serious horror films. We don't need two dopey cops with clown music playing. Get that out of here. WTF.
Yeah, and it is strange. Halloween 5 is just a movie that like genuinely it doesn't really know what it's trying to be most of the time in that film. And that is, they've got like the Looney Tune sound effects as they're walking down the steps, the little clown shoe thing.
Right.
I think it's one thing, as much as I trash Halloween Kills, they kind of show like cops not getting it right in a way that's like not in your face slapstick humor. I don't know. I totally agree. And that was one I didn't think of. And I'm so glad that you had it on here. Because that is just an odd moment and an odd few moments in this franchise.
It is. One thing I want to point out too real quick, because some people might eventually ask themselves this question as you're watching this episode. Austin and I agreed that we weren't going to throw the masks into this. Like, it would have been very easy to be like, WTF were they thinking in H2O, right? Well, they got freaking 7 different masks. That would be just way too easy to use that sort of thing. Or WTF the mask in Halloween 4 sucked. We've already talked about that. Everybody agrees. We know which masks are awesome, which ones suck. This is like true like moments or scenes from the franchise that you're like, why would you do that? I would have, if I had the keys to the kingdom, I would have done it differently. So just wanted to say that little caveat to this episode.
Yeah, just kind of creative choices that you're like, why is this in a Halloween film?
Right.
This one, I would say, isn't a why is this in a Halloween film? This was just one that I was like, what the fuck is going on? And this comes out of Halloween 3. And it is Little Buddy's death. Halloween 3, first of all, we talked about it. It's one of the craziest, wildest kills in the entire franchise. But I remember sitting with you in the old dungeon, Blaine's old dungeon, watching.
Yeah, well, let's hold on. So we got to stop right there because we got to clarify. We got to clarify what the dungeon is. Jesus Christ, you're making it sound like I'm a serial killer. I don't actually have a dungeon. Okay, I don't have a dungeon. I called this room at my old place that I used to live at. I called it the dungeon because it was very spooky. So I called it the dungeon. So let's just so I don't end up on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, okay? Or the TSA isn't after me. I don't have a dungeon, but please continue.
Right. So in Blaine's sex dungeon, we watched Halloween 3 that you had on a Blu-ray or a DVD combined with Halloween 2. Right. And it was, you had seen it once. You were like, hey, Halloween 3 actually isn't that bad of a movie. And like, you just got to take it for what it is. And I'm watching this movie and it's like, oh, I love the 80s vibes. It's super nostalgic. What's this like mystery going on with the masks? Like, clearly this Connell Cochran guy is a real asshole. I just don't know why yet. And we get to Little Buddy's death. And Michael Myers doesn't kill kids. That's kind of a thing that's been in all the movies. I mean, most of the movie, he's dabbled, but for the most part, kids, babies, they're usually safe. Right. Little Buddy was not safe. They did not pull a punch here. And the first time I watched that was genuine. And maybe this doesn't fit that great into the WTF moments, but it was genuine. Like, I watched a kid's brains turn into like snakes and beetles and shit. And I almost wanted to put like Halloween 3 in its entirety as a WTF moment, because it is just the most weird story. We've talked about it during our breakdown of Halloween 3 of like, this film is about a cop or a doctor that's messing around with all the other doctors. His ex-wife has kids that want this mask, and he ends up going to this mask place. There's robots, there's mind control, Stonehenges somehow involved. Like, it is the most wild script that I absolutely love this movie. There are plenty of people who still hate it. I'm shocked, actually, by the number of people who still hate it. But Little Buddy's death was one of the most shocking, like, what is going on moments in my watching experience of this franchise.
Little Buddy's death at the hands of Connell Cochran. I said Cochran. Yes, I said Cochran.
Oh, you did say Cochran?
Yeah.
I was like, you said that weird.
Connell Cochran.
That's the only way I'm going to refer to him.
Was a bad dude. So I understand. So this is not a WTF moment as far as like, what were they thinking? It's just like a WTF moment. I wasn't expecting that. Would that be?
Yeah. Just one of the moments that like, And I should preface that not all of these that I've written down are just like shocking. A lot of them are like, what were they thinking? But that one was just like what the hell? What am I watching? What is this movie? Blaine, what have you shown me in your sex dungeon?
I love that death scene personally. I think it's without question the best one in that movie, but I think it's just so iconic, you know. I mean, I remember I even went we have this up in the Minneapolis area. We have Crypticon. It's like the big horror convention. And I went there. My costume one year was Buddy. I still have the mask in my closet. It's got like the bugs and the snakes coming out of it and shit. And I loved it. So I love that scene, but totally get what you're saying. My next one, I'm going to stick with Halloween 5. This was a WTF moment because I was just like, this doesn't work for me. And that is Rachel Crothers' death in Halloween 5. It wasn't the way she died. It wasn't even, it wasn't the way she died. It was how quickly she died in the film. The filmmakers did an injustice to that character where she should have been, if they needed to kill her off, I get it, right? I mean, totally. If they needed to make that more impactful, even if they had needed to kill her off, like, you know, in like the even if they had to kill her off in the middle of the film, like at the 45-minute mark. But dude, she died so early in that film that to me, it takes away from the impact that character was or had in Halloween 4. I look at Rachel's character as like a driving factor in Halloween 4. I think, almost equally, it's a Rachel and a Jamie Lloyd movie. It's a Rachel Crothers, Jamie Lloyd movie.
Yeah.
And if Rachel had survived Halloween 5, I think we would see her as literally a much bigger player in this franchise than she already is. I think most people look at Danielle Harris. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis, Danielle Harris, right? Those are kind of like, when you think about this franchise, like who are your two big heavy hitters that you're like, these are the two really strong main characters. I think if Rachel Crothers had survived Halloween 5, it could be Jamie Lee Curtis, and then and I forget what her name is or her real name is right now. But Rachel, why am I not? Ellie Cornell. Ellie could be, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ellie Cornell, Danielle Harris. Like, I think it could be really close because I think obviously Jamie Lloyd or Danielle Harris being a kid at the time, there's only so much you can do. But I feel like Rachel, her character would have been so much stronger than maybe Danielle would have come off, especially since Danielle's character was, she had like some mental health stuff going on and she couldn't speak and she was, all this shit. Right. So I think if Rachel had survived Halloween 5, we could have potentially seen Rachel be a larger character moving again throughout the franchise. And we could be talking about right now, how Rachel Crothers is going to star, or be the next main character of the next Halloween film. So they did her dirty. I was like, WTF, why are they killing her off this way? Why are they killing her off so early? And that's my second pick.
I completely agree. I think, Rachel Crothers in that film is a WTF moment. Like, why did they make all the characterization of Rachel as not being just a standard dumb character in a horror film? Right. They took that all away and made her a standard dumb character in a horror film. I hate the way that she's played in Halloween 5. And I would imagine Ellie Cornell probably has a few bones to pick on that one as well. Because, Halloween 4 really is a story of Rachel. And I don't think Jamie Lloyd was really supposed to be the front man in that movie. It's more, she's the target of Michael. She's the cute kid that we're supposed to be like, oh, we got to protect this kid. But at the end of the day, it's Rachel is the one protecting the kid. Totally agree with you. What were they thinking in Halloween 5? Period. And
end of story.
I'm going to keep that train going. The unmasking scene in Halloween 5.
Oof.
What are we doing here?
Dude.
What are we doing? Michael comes up the attic and in a cool sort of like set piece. I'll say that the imagery in Halloween 5 is fantastic all the way throughout the movie. We've talked about it before. It's very Halloween feeling. I love all like the dinginess of the like interior of these places that Halloween 4 and Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 actually all really bring that like small town, farm town vibe to Haddonfield. But we go up this attic and there's a coffin up there and Jamie hides herself in the coffin and Michael comes up and he's like about to stab and she goes, "Uncle," and he's like, "Oh shit, this whole time." And you know, like she's like, she can barely speak or whatever, so she's like, "Let me see." And he it is cool how he takes the mask off like this. I like that he does that.
I agree. You're getting like the silhouette of him as he's taking the mask off. Yeah,
it looks really cool until she's like, "You look just like me," and then you see a single teardrop come from Michael Myers' eyes. Yeah. What are we doing? Why did we have this moment? Why do I need to see Michael Myers shed a single tear like he's taking a hard dump, dude?
Right.
He does not need to have a single. He should have no humanity. I thought we spent 3 movies at this point trying to prove that this guy has no humanity, and then we're like, oh, he sees his niece, and no. And then she touches him on the shoulder. He goes berserk again and it's over. But I hate that whole scene. It's one of the reasons I really dislike Halloween 5 and why it ends up so low on my ranking. What are we doing here? That was another one that was like, gotta have that in my top 5 or in my what the fuck moments.
It is a WTF moment for sure. I love and hate that scene equally because I think you hit the nail on the head. Like when he takes off that mask and you get just like that silhouette of him taking that mask off, it's freaking gold. And the other thing that I love is that Don Shanks had long hair. Yeah. And I think about that, like if Michael Myers had been on the run for X number of years, well, I guess it would only be technically a year at this point. But prior to that, he was supposedly burned up in this fire and spent 10 years in this hospital. You know, assuming he didn't burn all his hair off, like his hair would be long. I mean, it just naturally would be. And that's where I think Rob Zombie got it right with like the look of Michael Myers in H2 is he was like freaking full grown beard and long hair. And I dig that look because it seems more real. But yeah, dude, I don't need to see Michael Myers cry. Dude. Like, and then not only that, but like the whole, like the score or the sound of the music that's playing in that scene, like it's real, like kind of sad and soft.
Yeah.
And it's like, did they expect for like theater goers to sit there and go, oh, Michael? No,
he really is the victim.
Stupid. Yeah. WTF? What were they thinking? I have no idea what they were thinking. Stupid. And you know, it's funny because the more I talk about Halloween 5, I realize how much stupid stuff is in Halloween 5, even though like for me, I still like it because it's the old school. It's like, you know, those are the movies that I personally grew up on. So it's hard for me to like shit at them too much, but you do have to watch Halloween 5 with like through some serious, like a lens that you're just taking it as it comes. And it's like, you're not reading too much into it. Just enjoy it for a horror film. Understand that this film was rushed into production. The script wasn't even done when this film was being shot, which is insanity to begin with. And that there was a whole bunch of shit going on behind the scenes that, you know, the people who were involved with it still talk about to this day, how jacked up it was. So total WTF moment. Couldn't agree with you more. Very stupid. Please never make Michael Myers cry.
Never
again. No. My next WTF moment is, so again, going more with Halloween 5, but this is also a Halloween 5 and Halloween 6 problem. And it's a continuity problem. It's what I'm talking about specifically is the Myers house. How the Myers house changes from the Myers house. We don't hear or know anything about the Myers. We see the Myers house in John Carpenter's film. We see the Myers house in the second one. It disappears for part 4. It's obviously not in part 3, but it disappears for part 4, which kind of a little bit of, it's kind of sad in a way, right? Because it's such a character, if you will, of the franchise. And we missed out on seeing it in 4. And then in part 5, it comes back. And it's like, wait a second, this isn't the Myers house. Like, now, granted, I understand that the house at that time, I have no idea if the house was still like, I don't even know if it was still around. I don't remember what year it was moved. I'm sure somebody remembers or somebody knows, but it could have been being lived in at the time, whatever. But dude, this is Hollywood. They could have budgeted to have a house, or at least a house that looked similar to the Myers house,
Yeah.
be the house. And even if it was just a house that looks similar to it, like it was like, okay, clearly this isn't the house, but they're making it. It's like the Amityville Horror, right?
Yeah.
We have seen in different versions of throughout that entire franchise, the house. It may not always be exactly the same, but damn it, it always has the 2/4 moon windows. Like it looks like the scary, creepy Amityville house in some way, shape, or form. And in 5 and 6, they were just like, that house looks good. That house looks okay. That's a shitty house. Wait, that house right there. Let's use that one for the Myers house. And that doesn't work. Like we had already established what the Myers house looks like. And I go, WTF, why didn't they make that a bigger priority? Especially because in 5 and 6, the Myers house, especially in 6, but even so in 5, the Myers house plays a huge role in both of those films. Like the final chase scene, if you will, or the big chase scene in part 5 takes place in the Myers house. Michael Myers gets captured in the Myers house where Loomis sets up the trap with the chains and he beats the shit out of him with the 2x4. Like that all happens in the Myers house. And obviously in part 6, like they're living in the Myers house. So why was there not more of an emphasis put on this? It's disappointing. I can maybe forgive it for part 5 because it was rushed into production. Part 6, that's where I can't let it go. Part 6, that house was a focal point of that film. And I actually love that whole idea that this family, it was, the fact that they got this like house as a discount or like a deal. And I think her name is Deborah. I think she even says something along the lines of, now I know why you got such a good deal on this house. Why didn't you tell me what happened here, basically? And I love that because it again makes this house, this house has more character to it and adds to the character of the house. But WTF, why didn't you take more time, make that house look like it was supposed to look, and use the actual, Myers house look than just randomly picking houses that you thought looked creepy and scary?
Well, and why did they pick a house too that like, let's pick the most haunted looking, like how, like it looks like a wizard lived there, not the Myers family. Like it's got the spire roofs, and it's like this doesn't fit in the Haddonfield farm town vibe that we're creating here.
It's like a castle house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when did the Myers family own a castle? It's ridiculous. Right. But that is a sweet looking house, like regardless. It's a cool place, and it looks like it belongs in a horror film, but like not like you're saying, not in a horror franchise where we've already established the main character's home.
Right. WTF? What were they thinking?
WTF? Now I'm gonna go to one that happens in the blink of an eye. It's a very quick moment in this franchise, but one that it's so shocking that I think I and other people in the movie theater burst out laughing. And it is in Halloween Kills. And God, I should have pulled her name.
I know where you're going with this.
There is the doctor and the nurse is dressed like a doctor, and the doctor's dressed like a nurse. The woman dressed like a nurse is she's, first of all, she has a Barrett 50 cal pistol. What are we doing? Are we going to send him to space? Why do we need that to shoot Michael Myers? Either way, she pulls, or it's a Desert Eagle. It's a Desert Eagle she pulls out on him. And she's, I don't know if she says, "Hey, Michael," or whatever. This is when he's taking out Marion Chambers and the rest of that car, going after Lindsay Wallace. And the nurse pulls out the Desert Eagle at Michael. Michael hits the car, the gun pops, shoots herself in her head immediately. Like Michael didn't put in any effort there. It's just, she was immediately taken care of. And it was a jaw dropping WTF moment. for me in that theater. I think everybody was like, what did Michael just like basically shoot somebody
right
indirectly?
Right.
It was a shocking scene in that movie. Probably the funniest death of maybe any of the series. But yeah, it was just shocking and very quick. And yeah, had to include it on the WTF moments because it really was like a what just happened?
Right.
Scene in the theater. And I know I let out like a and like laughed in the theaters, with you right next to me. And I'm sure we were both like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it belongs on my list, or that's where it fits in here.
So that was not what I thought you were going to talk about. And I won't say it just in case it is still on your list, but I did not like that scene either. I thought like the dude's death when he gets the freaking knife shoved, through out. I thought that was awesome. Like the super cool effects that they did there. And, obviously Marion Chambers getting killed, like, you kind of probably knew that was coming at some point. But I agree how Michael just like boots the door and, she pops herself in the face. And I think in a way, like a little bit, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it's a little bit like derogatory, I guess, a little bit of her, because it's almost like she didn't know how to handle that firearm. So Michael was just like, fuck it, I'm going to kick this door and she's going to shoot herself in the head. You know what I mean? Like she was supposed to be like this badass who's got this freaking Desert Eagle and she's firing it off and she's going to kill this mother effer. And he's just like, nah, and just, yeah. And she shoots herself. It's like, first off, get your finger off the trigger, lady, if you're not intending to shoot. But he essentially, yes, he shoots her. And yeah, I agree. They could have killed her off in a better way. I did love that, talking specifically about that scene though. Like I love how later on when Tommy, I think it's Tommy Allison and I don't remember who's with him. Maybe Lonnie's with him. I can't remember.
I think it's Lonnie.
Yeah, they show back up at the park and like, Marion is hanging from the frickin' the swing set, and then the other couple they're like on that, the merry-go-round just going real slow, and they're all wearing the Halloween 3 masks. I thought that was like one of the coolest scenes from Halloween Kills, and we shit on that film a lot. It's not one of my favorites at all, but I thought that was one of the really cool moments of that film where it was like, okay, this is sweet,
Yeah, it's very Michael Myers to set something like that up. And I got to credit them there. But I will say my last one is not from Halloween Kills. So I'd love to hear what one you were going to reference.
It was, and now I'm, what did you say? Because you said, how did that start out? You said,
I was like, this one's from Halloween Kills.
I don't remember what my guess was now. You said something about a girl. Characters.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know what it was. I thought you were going to talk about the chick with the toaster.
Oh,
I thought you were going to talk about that, because that, and I never even thought about that until this, but it's like, once again, like when we're filming this thing, when we're filming this scene, it's like, all right, here's your crowbar, here's your baseball bat, here's your rifle, here's your toaster. Like, yeah. What? Why do I got to carry the toaster? What the hell am I? Or no, that wasn't a toaster. It was a fucking iron. That's what it was. It was like ironing. Yeah.
Yeah. For ironing clothes.
It's like, what are we doing? Like,
somebody cares and loves about this woman. And she was like, with this toaster, I'm going to go fight the most notorious killer this town has ever known. And nobody in her household was like, hold on, Marilyn, don't go out there.
Right.
Take anything else. Take a fork.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Take this. I mean, you literally could have picked a branch up off the ground. It would have been made more sense. Like 100%. One guy's got a hockey stick, which I'm cool with. Like whatever, it might not be the best tool, but at least it could hurt. Like an iron. Like what are you going to do with an iron?
You got to get real close to hit somebody with an iron. And Michael Myers is known for being good within arm's range.
Yeah. Just stupid. Yeah. That's what I thought you were going to say when you first started talking about a woman. So, this is out of order from mine a little bit, but I'm going to stick with, because Halloween 6, I just kind of talked about Halloween 6. I'm going to talk about Halloween 6, that the ending of Halloween 6, the theatrical cut, and I guess the producer's cut too, but I'm gonna talk specifically about the theatrical cut here, is kind of all a WTF moment for me, because it seems very rushed the way everything kind of ends. So you have this awesome badass scene where Michael goes in and he kills all these doctors and nurses and shit. And then there's this little, chase scene and this battle, this fight scene. And then it ends up that Tommy has this, they inject Michael with this serum of whatever, right? They inject Michael with this shit.
Eyes are
yeah. And he starts beating the piss out of him with this pipe. And he just is beating him and beating him and beating him. And you see like the flashes of like the goo, like coming out of his eyes and stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. They just did Michael in, and apparently that's how he's going to die in this film. And Tommy throws the pipe down, and immediately they cut to outside the hospital, and they're standing there with Loomis. And he's like, Dr. Loomis, you need to come with us or whatever. And it's Kara and Danny and Tommy in the car. And he's like, I have a little business to attend to, or whatever he says. And then like, it's just Loomis screaming, which, he went back into the hospital and Michael killed him. Right. And they were trying to end Loomis because at this point, Donald Pleasance had died. He died, shortly after this film stopped, or what wasn't being made. But obviously, there is the producer's cut where you see how it changes a little bit, and Loomis goes back into the hospital and he finds Michael down on the ground, and Michael's surrounded by these like ruins, these stones. And then it ends up like they pull the mask off, and it's actually Dr. Wynn under the mask, and it's not Michael, and Michael's gone into the night. So there was like hey, Loomis survives this, but and Loomis still screams, and the producer's cut, he's like, because he sees that he's got the thorn tattoo on his arm now, and he starts screaming. So like Loomis technically survives in the producer's cut, and they obviously, once Donald Pleasance died, they were like, okay, well, we're gonna end the Loomis character, and they made this where his scream is indicative that he's being killed by Michael. But the whole way that whole thing plays out, to me, it just happens very fast. Like, it's like, what it just felt like, how did we go from beating the shit out of Michael to we're outside the sanitarium and they're like, hey, come with us. He's like, nope, I got some things I got to attend to. And then he goes and it screams, and it's like, it's over. It just felt weird the way the thing ended. And every time I watch Halloween 6, and I love Halloween 6, I really truly do. It's one that's grown on me a lot over the years. I've used to not care for it very much, but probably for like the last 6 or 7 years, I really enjoy watching it. But every time it ends, I'm like, WTF, that just felt weird. It felt rushed. It felt like something at the production level didn't go right. And we kind of ended up with this weird, sloppy ending.
Yeah, one thing I'll credit Halloween 6 for doing is it really did capture a little bit of that slow burn that I think like Halloween 1 and Halloween 4 really crush.
Yep.
And for this movie that's like been paced very well to end, you're so right. It's like we have our final like chase scene, and I think as moviegoers, we're kind of all used to that resolution after like the climactic fight. Right. Having some time to like sit with the aftermath before we end the movie. And it really is, you get one scene of that resolution, and then it's right back into, terror mode, either cut you go. It really does. It wraps up within like 3 minutes. And yeah, completely agree. It's kind of an unsatisfying end to an otherwise pretty satisfying Halloween entry.
I was going to say, I think I would even feel better about it if, like, after they beat the shit out of Michael with the pipe, if there was like this scene of Tommy and Kara meeting up with Loomis, and he's like, tells them, you did it. He's gone. The evil is dead. And, he does his Loomis crazy shit. And like, they make their way out of the sanitarium and, or sanitarium, whatever it is, sanitarium, and the hospital. And, there's like this, they're separating themselves a little bit from that scene where Michael was, just killed or supposedly killed. And then they're outside and they're getting into the van together. And like Loomis hesitates. He's like getting ready to get in the van or the truck or whatever the hell it is. And he like hesitates and he pulls himself back. And they're like, what are you doing? No, get in the van. And then he's like, no, I gotta go. I gotta go take care of some things. And then he goes off. But yeah, it goes from the beat down to like this, literally like this 30-second clip of them having this conversation where they're like, Loomis, come with us. And he goes, nope, I have some things to attend to. And then he screams. It just feels very rushed. And I go, WTF, what are you thinking? Because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And it's tough because it is the last time we see Donald Pleasance as Loomis. And yeah, obviously they didn't have enough to work with there, and they're trying to piece together a decent end for him. But hear you there. My final WTF moment I got to bring up, and it's gonna sound contradictory based on who we are. What
I know where you're going.
All about.
I know where you're going.
Is it yours? Is it your final one?
Nope.
It's the Corey Cunningham, Michael Myers love touch eye thing that happens when they meet each other in this sewer. It's played out differently in my mind than it probably really is on the screen, because on the screen it does seem to suggest, and the book certainly suggests, that there is a transfer of power, of supernatural power from Michael Myers to Corey Cunningham. That's why Corey Cunningham goes home after. His eyes look black. I hate it so much, but in the movie, it was like Blaine, this is probably later than you were watching Disney Channel, but do you know That's So Raven? When I say those words, does that mean anything?
I know the show, couldn't tell you anything about it. Don't know who it is other than the one main character, but go ahead.
Raven can see the future, all right? And when she does, similar, you've probably seen Jimmy Neutron when I was a kid.
I know, once again, I remember it from when you were a kid, but never watched it.
It goes into Raven's eye, and that's what it reminded me of. Anybody who grew up with That's So Raven, hit me up down in the comments. I guess we're gonna bond. But it was just such a weird scene, dude. And when I watched it, I remember immediately being like, oh, that makes me uncomfortable, as far as like, and people know this, I'm such like a protector of the Michael Myers lore. I don't want any new information about Michael Myers, even though it's the point of sequels. It's why we keep digging into this character. But that was just one I was like, oh, it's like finding out Santa Claus isn't real. Like that same feeling is what hit me. But I got to go with the Corey Michael connection eye thing that happened in Halloween Ends.
I get it. I get it. I knew as soon as you said we're a protector of this character or whatever it was you said, I knew exactly where you're going with that. I agree. I think they were grasping at straws to try to figure out how they were going to make that connection there. That, you obviously had a kid, this character of Corey, who was greatly affected by this traumatic thing that happened to him. He was blamed. He kind of became the new Haddonfield boogeyman. And then obviously you have the OG Haddonfield boogeyman. And how are they going to connect these two? How are they going to make them be that transfer of rage, basically, as Loomis would say, the rage that they would both have? How would they connect? They had to touch tips, in order to.
They did touch tips, dude. That's what I hate.
They touch tips, and that pisses me off, that you touch tips with Michael Myers. Nobody should ever touch Michael's tip, and that's what they did. And the power transferred, whatever, the energy, the rage, whatever transferred, and that was stupid. And that's why that also is why, or how we see that supernatural thing. Like we've talked about this, like 2018, there's some, is he supernatural? Is he a man? Kills, it's more like, okay, this is a man, right? And then ends happens, and it's like, well, shit, is this supernatural again? Is this what is this? And I guess it's not necessarily that way for everybody. I think you could go back and forth whether he's a man or supernatural in all three of those films. But it does lean one way or another, I feel like, in many instances. But I feel like Ends really is heavy on the, okay, it's supernatural. It's supernatural. But then you also have the whole, like, well, he's beat to shit and he's torn apart, and then they kill a mother effer. So, yes, yeah. So just don't make me hate Ends, because I love that film. I don't want to hate that film. So
I just think it was an unnecessary scene. Corey was already having his own story. We didn't need to give him superpowers to let him be essentially the Shape again. He didn't need to actually be the Shape.
Right. We're talking about cock rings and touching tips in this episode. This is what this podcast has become.
We're 59 episodes in. It's gonna get a little weird.
We're gonna have to put like a little warning on this, like, hey kids, we're talking about Santa Claus, we're talking about cock rings, we're talking about touching tips. Like this is a NC-17 episode.
We've gotten racy in our old age.
All right, my last one's going to be a little bit controversial because I think there are a lot of people who love this scene. And every time I watch it, I'm like, God, that's stupid. Why did they do that? I'm going to go all the way back to 1981's Halloween 2. And it's the scene where Michael Myers walks through the frickin' door, the glass door, and the door shatters. Because here's the thing. Number one, God bless Dick Warlock. We've talked about this. But Dick Warlock walked much slower, much more methodical than Nick Castle did, and really, truly much slower than probably any other Michael Myers besides George P. Wilbur in Part 4. Like, there's some similarities between Dick Warlock and George P. Wilbur in the way that they walk between those two films. But, like, he just walks through the glass door. Like, did he not see it? Like did he not see the glass door? Like, he was like a bird flying towards a bush, and then at the last second he realized, holy shit, this is a glass door, but I'm gonna make this look really cool and just stick with it. And he just like goes through it. Like, why did anybody think that was a good idea? I don't expect Michael to be that strong that he just like walks through glass doors and he just like busts through walls. He's like the Kool-Aid man. I don't want any of that shit. Like, I just want Michael to be like, put my hand on the handle and I'm going to open it up and then I'm coming after you. Like, I don't need Michael to walk through a glass door. And every time I watch that scene, I'm like, God damn, WTF, that was stupid. Why did they do that?
He's also not walking fast enough to break glass.
Yeah, like the glass literally like flexes as he moves through it, like super slow until it just shatters, you know?
If a real human were to walk at that speed, I don't care if you are literally Tyler May in levels of strength, and you walk that fast into a glass door, it's going to go dunk, and it's going to stop. You're not breaking through that glass. Even if you were made of diamonds, it's not happening.
Yeah, you'd have to be cooking. You'd have to be walking a little bit faster than Dick Warlock walks in Halloween 2 to break through glass like that. But that's what I mean. It's like, and I get what they were doing. It was all for like the effects and you know, they wanted him to look like he was this really powerful dude. But to me, that missed the mark. And it's like a cheesy moment that I was like, that's stupid. Why did you do that? I don't know.
As time goes on, more and more of Halloween 2. I talked about it in my ranking.
I know
it's getting cheesy for me. The longer I watch it, it doesn't hold up as well. But it's a good movie no matter what.
The first half of Halloween 2 is killer.
It's legitimately just continuation of the first one, which is all I wanted.
I'm going to give you my three sort of honorable mentions with this. And I'm not going to go into really any detail, but number one, clearly the evil dies tonight thing. Why? Like, if you would have just done it once, I would have been okay with it. But the fact that this like turned into a thing, and I think it even made it on the poster, like, why? The second one, sticking with Halloween Kills, is Tommy Doyle's entire speech at the beginning at the bar. We've murdered that one on this show. It sucked. It was fake. It was cheesy. It was corny. Everything in between. And lastly, going back to Halloween 2, 1981, Laurie Strode's wig or her hair in that film. Like, my God, it's not even like it wasn't even the wig itself. It was the color of it. It was like it was like orange. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to like spray this like sun shit in my hair to make my hair look cool when I was in like, you know, Saved by the Bell years, and it just turned orange instead of blonde. And like, that's what that looked like. It was terrible. It's called Sun In. If anybody else out there had the highlighted tips or used Sun In, hit me up below. But I used to use Sun In my hair, and it always turned orange. It never turned blonde. So
is that the thing where mom would put the ball on you?
No, that was when I was getting frosted tips, baby. That was like straight up like 1999, 2000. Yeah, that was getting tips.
Those were some intense moments between you and mom, because she'd poke her hair and you'd be like, ah, like, it was amazing. Good times.
Yeah. Might have to do that again someday.
I think we should. We're touching tips. We're frosting tips. This is Halloween Lives, the podcast of tips.
It's the podcast of tips. And that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast of tips. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll be back next week with episode 60. Holy shit. It's episode 60 next week. We've got some more exciting things going to be coming down the path. Some more specials that we're going to be doing here very, very soon. And we'll make sure you guys we'll fill you in on those as they happen, obviously. But yeah, that's going to do it for episode 59. My name is Blaine Duncan. That is my little brother, Austin. And we'll see you next week for episode number 50.
He's coming for you, and he's coming for me.
He's coming hard.